Disclaimer. The following is a parody of CinemaSyn's Everything Wrong With series.
If this story is so vital to the overall plot of Kingdom Hearts, why make it a free-to-play browser/mobile game? It probably could have sold really well as an MMO or MOBA with the story presented the way Final Fantasy XIV was. I mean, I personally wouldn't have played it if it was presented that way, but it would have been better than a browser game turned mobile that got so important it merited its own cutscene collection and sequel. If they wanted us to actually read what was on screen, they made it really confusing to follow. Wait, what? Doesn't the story happen before the events of the Keyblade War? Didn't the Keyblade War happen, like, for as long as Kingdom Hearts 3 has been in development? Why are Disney characters from Source Time here?
Here, take it.
So, what's the story behind the black coat thing? Like, what does it mean? Is it just an identifier of bad guys?
Long, long ago, all the worlds were still one. One day, this would be called the Age of Fairy Tales.
By whom exactly? People don't even remember people wielding Keyblades. Why would anyone remember a time when worlds weren't separated?
It all began here in Daybreak Town. The Master of Masters had an eye.
The Master of Masters? Is there a title of titles?
He bestowed upon 5 of his 6 apprentices a copy of the Book of Prophecies, in which was written the events to come.
Well, we know the Master of Masters wrote the Book of Prophecies, but do printers or copy machines exist in this world? Did he just write the same book 5 different times?
By the way, if one day I suddenly disappear, I'm counting on you to keep the others calm, okay?
Huh? Disappear?
Vanish? Dim? Fade? I don't know how to explain it. It's just hypothetical talk.
Well, it was hypothetical until one realizes that you didn't include the synonymic term leave. You're being pretty specific that you're just gonna dissipate.
On that fated land, a great war shall transpire. Darkness will prevail, and the light expire.
Isn't it our duty as Keyblade wielders to prevent this war from taking place?
Not possible.
What?
You really think you can change the future?
Then, what do you want us to do?
We have to focus on what comes after.
Focus on what comes after the world becomes swallowed in darkness and everyone essentially ceases to exist? Yeah, I don't follow.
And the ones who will be here when the darkness finally comes. Are we to abandon all of them?
Come on, are you telling me that you think the world can be saved by just 7 people?
Irony.
And so the reliable Era, who wore the mask of the unicorn, was given his role to take over for the Master and to lead the others.
Because they know everyone chose Unicornus.
Similarly, this is where your story began. The story of your very own adventure.
It's not really my very own adventure. Millions of people played the game too.
They each created a union. This would fulfill his wishes.
Why? Aren't all the foretellers trying to achieve the same goal? Sure, they were all given different purposes, but that's just a mean to an end, right?
By defeating Heartless, the monsters of darkness, they would gather light.
Since when is that how that works? Ever since the beginning, it's been defeat Heartless to gather health, money, magic, experience, items, but never light.
No wonder you ended up as the bear. You're scary.
Your point?
Maybe you can growl at them.
Don't insult me!
Come on, Hassan. You won't know if it works unless you try.
Why is this asshole the Master of Masters? Rather, why do his apprentices take everything more seriously than he does? So bizarre.
There's an easy way to solve this. If we all summon our spirits, then we'll know.
Gula does have a point. Not only that, but what makes you so certain that that nightmare Chirithy belongs to one of the foretellers? Just because you found it inside the castle? It's a rogue. For all you know, it could have come from outside.
Unfortunately, there are countless wielders in our unions. It would be easy for any of us to summon a Chirithy that isn't a nightmare.
Why? Doesn't everybody get only one? Why would you be able to control the Dream Eaters that belong to your union members?
It could belong to anyone in our unions.
That's highly unlikely.
Au contraire, if anything, wouldn't it be easier for one of the less experienced Union members to fall to darkness?
The bangles. I know when they're equipped, they have the power to collect dark energy. But I thought we all agreed that was okay.
Collecting is fine. But using that power is the equivalent of using the power of darkness.
Why would you ever collect the darkness to begin with? Why not just leave as is?
Oh no. Everyone's already equipped their bangles.
So what now? How do we find out who's behind this?
Seeing as those bangles couldn't have been acquired by just anyone, I believe it's one of us here in this room.
Wait, what?
No, Ira.
How does that make any logical sense?
Disagree.
From what you're saying, Ira, it sounds like not many people have bangles to begin with. Why not weed them out?
Or
Ira, some leader you are. You've managed to plant seeds of doubt in all of us with that speech. What? Did you expect the traitor to give themselves up with that accusation of yours?
If there's even a traitor to begin with. You guys really don't have sufficient proof.
enough.
I hope we can all resolve this soon.
That didn't go as expected.
Well, what were you expecting? You pretty much just accuse your closest allies of being traitors. Even if none of them are traitors.
Did you expect the traitor to give themselves up with that accusation of yours?
There is something going on, and a page is suspiciously missing from the book. It's not so far-fetched to assume that the one who has the lost page has been turned, that they have fallen into the hands of darkness. Trust me.
So, let me get this straight. You think that some one person had the audacity to steal all the other foretellers' book of prophecies, which I would assume each and every single one of you protects with your life, only to rip out a single page detailing treason? Because you're calling it the lost page. You haven't considered for 1 second that maybe only you are missing the page?
No way.
There seems to be no record of it in my book either. You may be onto something.
That, or maybe there's just no traitor. It's easy for someone to say, hey, I found this ice cream in the castle and the book didn't say anything about ice cream. What's that? Your book doesn't say anything about ice cream either? There must be a lost page of sorts.
Could this have been the Master's plan all along? To grant the lost page to only one of us?
We have no way of knowing.
Boosh, you could ask to see the other foretellers' books and explain to them about the lost page. If they've got nothing to hide, they shouldn't oppose for any reason.
I understand, but without you or Lushu, to form and maintain our own unions it's a little unnerving, to be honest.
Oh, come on! Lighten up a little. Maybe I'll never disappear.
Well, for someone who will maybe never disappear, you sure are making a lot of plans, and trust me, I appreciate planning ahead as much as the next guy, but having specific roles for each foreteller and not informing the rest of everyone's individual role is pretty suspicious.
Well, what do you two think? You don't believe what Ira said, do you?
Of course not. His argument was unconvincing. It's like Inby said. He's just making baseless assumptions given the situation. There's no evidence to tie his accusations to anyone, let alone one of us.
That's not entirely true. The fact still stands that he found a nightmare Chirithy. You all saw it. Even if it was his own or someone else's, the evidence that someone fell to darkness is still pretty clear.
Anyway, could you get to the point? I know you didn't call us here just to complain.
I want the three of us to form an alliance.
But alliances are forbidden, us said.
What? Aren't you all supposed to be one big alliance? Aren't you all working toward the same goal? You're not rivals, and you certainly aren't enemies. If you're all a group of people whom all have individual roles, then, if anything, you're by definition a team. How can there be alliances in a team? That would require treason, and all of you are certain there is no traitor.
I don't believe for a second there's a traitor among us. Unfortunately, Ira doesn't share the same belief. He's just wasting time trying to figure out who the traitor is.
Then let him. Eventually he'll come across a loose end and realize there is no traitor. But if you guys confront him as a group, especially led by you, said, he'll have every reason to assume you're the traitor. Seriously, how do they not see this?
The darkness won't wait, and neither should we. We need to band together now and find a way to fight it.
Isn't that what you've been doing from the beginning? And if Ira's trying to figuratively unmask the traitor, isn't it clear that he's on your side?
Guess it makes sense.
No, it really doesn't.
I agree that we need to do something to fight the darkness. But combining our unions? That was strictly forbidden by the Master.
You shut up, because along with Gula, you're the biggest idiot. You say that combining unions was forbidden by the Master, yet you were tasked with recruiting the best Keyblade wielders of each union. How do you not see that the Master was plotting you against each other?
That's your choice to make. You should do whatever you feel is right.
Yeah.
By the way, Ased, do Ira and Envy know?
Why the hell would Ira know about creating an alliance to confront Ira, you idiot?
What's the meaning of this?
Hear me out, Envy. I want an alliance among our unions.
What do you mean an alliance? Aren't you guys like a school and each foreteller is a teacher? Seriously, you guys aren't working against each other. Why would you not be working together?
The Master bestowed each of us with a different role, and he specifically told us to keep our unions separate, to maintain the balance of power. He told us that any imbalance would lead to a desire for more power, which leads to darkness.
Okay, you idiot. How would being united create an imbalance of power? If anything, wouldn't being separated cause one union to want to be better than the others? Especially since each foreteller was assigned with different roles? How do you not see the problem, and more importantly, the solution?
What about you spy on us and report everything you see back to Ira? You really think you have no darkness in your heart after what you did?
Because that is my role.
To observe us, yes, but not to disclose everything we say and do to Ira.
That's...
Also her role. What the hell would be the point of a leader and an observer if the observer didn't report to the leader?
Why the long face?
Because she's wearing a mask. Oh, you meant... Never mind.
Do you remember what you asked me before? About why the unions compete against each other instead of working together. Actually, I always wondered the same thing.
Competing for what? Light? And that perfectly illustrates my point.
Yes.
If you Morons are meant to maintain the balance of power, you'll never do so by competing against each other. Every competition is won eventually, especially if it's one of power. Again, how do you not see the issue?
Huh? Isn't it just because the Master said so?
Yes. And as such, we must obey. The Master said so. So it is. I think it would be great if all the unions could work together and be friends.
I agree. In fact, that's kind of your role, yet you insisted on remaining separated, you fox-faced penis.
Forming alliances was strictly forbidden by the Master.
Yes, and his teachings are absolute.
Why?
That's why.
What discernible qualifications did the Master have that you just decided to follow him and trust his every word? He says it himself, may your heart be your guiding key. Is that not an absolute teaching from the Master?
Ased has begun to question the two of us. As a precaution, my reports will be less frequent. I don't want him to get the wrong idea. Please understand.
What the hell happened to don't be afraid to speak up? I thought the Master's orders were absolute.
Is Envy the one who told you to break our alliance?
Maybe. But I'm the one who decided to do it. And I've already told you why.
But we don't even know who the traitor is yet!
I thought you thought there was no traitor!
Making Ira the leader is all good in theory, but sometime later you might think, he's terrible at this. In which case it'll be your job to step up. Who knows? Your leadership might be just what everyone needs. And that is your true role.
Whoa, 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 whoa. So you're entrusting vice leadership to someone you know wants to be the leader and specifically telling him that he can just decide whether or not he thinks that Ira is right for the job, then becoming leader himself. If anything, Ased should now have more reason to question your decisions. So, why exactly are they fighting? I mean, I know Ased is butthurt over Envy interfering with the Alliance, but does he really not see how his actions could be misconstrued as treason?
If we don't do something, light will expire. Then we won't be able to avoid the grim future that awaits.
Yeah. Exactly. In fact, Ased is probably ironically the only one with the mind in the right place. If they know what's going to happen, why not try to do the opposite of what the Book of Prophecy says?
We need to defy the Master's teachings to protect the world.
You're saying he was wrong?
In his prophecies? No. In his teachings? Without a doubt, absolutely, and there's no way you can't see it.
May my heart be my guiding key.
Is your heart telling you to attack the ones who should be your comrades instead of talking it out in a civilized manner?
Your role. You must find the traitor hidden among you, and stop them before it's too late.
And here we have probably the biggest and blindest idiot of them all. Gula was given the lost page and he doesn't see how this could possibly cause conflict.
And in order to help you find the traitor...
I get it. That's why you gave us all different roles, isn't it? If anyone deviates from the job they were given, we can easily conclude that they are the traitor. It's brilliant.
No, in fact it's stupid as fuck and you're stupid as fuck for thinking it's brilliant. This part right here proves that no one knows anyone else's role. How then is anyone supposed to identify the traitor if no one knows what the other's role is? And I know this is the case because Ira and Envy knew about the lost page, but not who had it. If they didn't know that Gula had it, how would they know what his role is? In fact, Gula himself should have been the first, if not the only one to know the Master is full of shit, because that would mean only he knows everyone else's roles, and he knows everyone's fulfilling it, and he can't be the traitor himself.
Way to steal my thunder, show off! Huh? It's not fair. My plan was supposed to blow your mind with its grandeur. Your jaw should have hit the floor at my sheer genius.
Instead, my mind was blown and my jaw dropped at how you failed to see how your plan could backfire. Doubly so because it worked just the way you intended.
I'm sorry? But was my logic flawed?
Shockingly, yes and no. I mean, your logic allowed you to see what the Master's plan was, but your logic, in and of itself, is flawed since you didn't see how the Master was pitting you all against each other.
It doesn't matter to me if you think I am the traitor, and you want to strike me down. You knew there was a traitor, and you just watched silently as we fought each other.
That's exactly my point. How did this asshole not see that?
Why did it have to come to this?
Are you kidding me? What were they expecting would happen? What was their ideal outcome? They made sure everything in the Book of Prophecies happened just as the Master wrote, and they expected a happy ending?
That's not what brought me here today. I wish to fulfill the role bestowed upon me. That's all. It isn't our place to try to change the events of the future. That is not our mission. We're here to make sure that light lives on.
Ira. Bruh, let me level with you right quick. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. Either you don't change the events of the future, or you ensure that light lives on. You cannot, and I can't stress this enough, have both. And you know this because the Master told you that this was the case when he told you your role.
I'm talking about Gula. He's using the knowledge of something called the Lost Page. He said that it contains events that are missing from all of our books. He's using it to discover and apprehend whoever is the traitor. Claims that's his role. But who knows what his real intentions are? What I do know is that I'll never forgive him for hiding the fact that he knew someone would betray us.
Okay, and I know Gula's a gigantic ass for not seeing it, but if anything, you should be pretty mad at the Master. In fact, now that this is all coming to light, you should all be able to deduce what's going on.
Why did you tell Ira? It had to be you, because you were the only one who knew where we were hiding. Didn't you think for a second that your actions could be making things worse than they already are?
Did you?
She's literally carrying out her role, which to you guys is apparently a big deal. I don't see why you're upset about it. Apparently saying it's my role automatically makes everything okay.
Didn't you think for a second that your actions could be making things worse than they already are?
And why should that even bother you? Not only do you have your union, but you've also gathered the finest Keyblade wielders from other unions, and you're training them in a secret location, aren't you?
Yes, because that is my role!
And ding 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 ding! Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Here's biggest blindest idiot number 2! How was it not suspicious to you at all that the Master asked you to assemble the best Keyblade wielders and train them in secret? How is that not a huge red flag? Do none of these people, apart from Ased, care that the light will expire if they keep on this path?
What did Ira want? I don't know exactly. He just asked me to give up Gula. His eyes... they were... scary.
You could see his eyes? You guys are always wearing your masks.
What are you going to do?
None of your concern.
Don't.
What?
I won't let you near him.
So that's it. All right. I'll go.
Well, that was easy. Seriously, like, wow.
I knew it. It's finally come to this.
Come to what?
Everyone wants to know about the lost page.
Why wouldn't they? You couldn't keep it a secret forever. Eventually someone would find out.
I'm going to summon Kingdom Hearts.
What?
Then he'll have no choice but to come back.
Summoning Kingdom Hearts is forbidden!
That's exactly why! The only way to get him back is to break the rules. If things don't change, the entire world is doomed.
You know, up until this point I thought that's what you guys wanted. Seriously, all it would take would be for one of you guys to stop following the book.
Ghoul is on a mission to collect Lux.
Ah. That explains why Aset and Ira are as well. They're trying to maintain the balance. But that isn't the balance we were expected to keep. If everyone's collecting light solely for themselves, Keyblade wielders will soon turn against one another.
Exactly, which is why I don't understand why different unions were a thing.
Yngvi, what are you going to do?
I'll gather Lux too. No matter what, the balance must be kept. Ava, you do the same. We must delay the inevitable.
You make it evitable if you just stopped fighting and all came together. It's really not that hard.
Don't get involved in any battles. Forget the notion of unions. Find Keyblade wielders with potential and create an entirely separate organization. Then, like the seeds of a dandelion, let them fly to another world. They will keep the light alive.
You really think that I'm the right person for this?
Ava, you're the only person for this.
And by the only person for this, he means the only person that was left.
A war will soon wage. Those who strive to protect the light will turn their weapons on their allies for the sake of loyalty to their own unions.
Yeah, Ava, this is a really good speech, but I really think you should be telling it to everyone, not just the Dandelions. For one, they don't even take part in the Keyblade War, so it's not even really their concern. Wouldn't it be more effective to warn the rest of the unions so as to avoid them going to war under false pretenses? Disney Interactive. Also, man, there is like way more to the story that we don't get to see. Why wasn't this just its own game? And not like Unchained Key or Union Cross, but like an actual beginning to end game in the series. It's way too important not to be, apparently.
What?